Hi, welcome back to Educator.com. This is the lesson on bacteria. So of the two kingdoms of bacteria, or really the two domains, we're going to focus first on Archaea. And in domain Archaea is kingdom Archaebacteria. And as I mentioned before in a previous lesson, Archaea comes from the word archaic, meaning ancient, very old. So this kingdom of bacteria is said to resemble the earliest cells on Earth. We also evolved from those first cells. If you trace back animals, plants, fungi, etc. We do have ancestry dating all the way back over 3 billion years ago, supposedly. And even though they're resembling the earliest cells on Earth, they're still around today. They've evolved as well. They are a bit different than those earliest cells on Earth, but that's the theory at least, that they resemble those cells the most. Many of these Archaebacteria are extremophiles, meaning they love extremes, extreme environmental conditions. Now, this isn't true of all of them, but certainly a lot of them are extremophiles. Here are some examples. Thermophiles love heat. Thermo meaning heat. We're talking sometimes way hotter than boiling. And a classic example would be in a hot spring that's way too hot for a human to, go into, or geysers. If you go to certain national parks, you can see geysers, and that water is heated deep in the crust and shooting out. It's very, very hot, and you'll see these colors. I'll actually show you on the next slide a really pretty image of that, and you can actually see some of it here. This particular area has some very hot water, and these really vibrant greens and some of these reds. That's not algae. You're actually looking at billions upon billions and billions of these archaebacterial cells. Halophiles, they like salty environments. The Dead Sea, Great Salt Lake, those are very harsh environments for most life forms, but halophiles, they love the salt. They absolutely love to be there. And if you actually were to take them out and put them in ocean water, probably wouldn't be salty enough for them and they wouldn't survive. Acidophiles, as the name suggests, they love acidic environments. Sometimes the gut of an organism would be great for that. When you look at gastric juice inside of the stomach of an animal, it can be near a 2 on the pH scale. It's pretty acidic, but oftentimes we're talking about even more acidic than that. This kind of Archaebacteria does not like alkaline or basic environments for sure. And then Methanogens. They release methane. And these are still considered extremophiles because what's extreme about them is they don't like oxygen at all. And I'll cover that later on in the lesson. They are obligate anaerobes. You can find these in the gut of many organisms, including ourselves. So just because they like extreme environments doesn't mean we will never be exposed to them. Methanogens in the gut of an animal, they release methane. What they end up doing is they take CO2 and some other compounds, and when they do their own metabolic processes, a waste product they release is methane, CH4, and that's why they're called methanogens, like the fact that they generate methane. Not only in the gut of an organism, you can find them in swamps, bogs, sewage treatment plants, places where the air quality would not be so nice, and that's methanogens. They are more closely related to eukaryotes than eubacteria, Archaea in general. And I mentioned this earlier on with taxonomy and looking at those different domains. Pretty interesting. The fact that a bacterial cell could be closely related to our cells when they seem so distant. So here's more on the comparison of Archaea to bacteria when you look at how each of them relate to eukaryotes in general. So when we compare Archaea and eukarya, so the Archaebacteria and all eukaryotic organisms, both have histones, those proteins that help DNA get wrapped around it, help organize it. You don't see those in bacteria. You see some of the same ribosomal proteins in terms of comparing the ribosome of Archaebacteria to the ribosome of a plant cell, of an animal cell, there's a lot in common, more so than when you look at regular bacterial ribosomes. So there's that. Similar transcription activity, meaning the variety of enzymes that initiate transcription and make it happen. There's a lot more in common when you look at Archaea and Eukarya with that, and similar types of tRNA. So it's showing a closer evolutionary relationship in terms of the split between Archaea and Eukarya. So we do think that that split between bacteria and Archaea happened before the split between Archaea and our domain. Because when you look at bacteria and Eukarya, like in terms of what we have in common with them, not nearly as much. I mean, we're both cells. We both have DNA. We both have ribosomes. But in terms of, how closely those things are, in terms of the relationship, not really. And this is incredible because the two groups of prokaryotes are not as closely related as we are to one of those bacterial groups. And here's that picture I told you about earlier. This is from Yellowstone. This is called Castle Geyser. And all of this yellow, orange, and redishness, that's archaebacteria, specifically thermophiles that love that heat. And there's all kinds of pictures you can look up online with thermophiles and the brilliant colors that they produce when you find them all together, billions and billions of them.